Good afternoon, everyone. Jonathan Davis here with Davis Autosports. You are viewing a absolutely gorgeous 2006 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited LJ. This is a two-owner vehicle. It's been a Southern truck since day one. It's been in Florida its entire life, and it made its way to Georgia over the last year or two. Came to us from Georgia. 93,000 original and documented miles. As I'm sure you're aware, the Unlimited was produced 04, 05, and 06. Very sought after. This one finished with a hard top from the factory, white paint, automatic transmission, completely rust-free Jeep. Now, I do want to point out before we get too much into the video, we are selling this Jeep in 2 to maybe 3 different forms. We're going to offer the Jeep the way you see it today from a cosmetic standpoint, and I'll tell you what we've already done to it. But you're also going to, in that same option to buy, it's going to be fully serviced, and I'll get into that as well. So option 1 is essentially what you see now with some services. Option 2 is going to be one of our stage 2 TJs, which is essentially to some degree what that 24,000 mile Rubicon is right there. 3-inch lift, our DAS wheels, 33-inch tires, and a few other accessories. Although this Jeep has, and these tires did come on it, it's a set of 31 BFGs. They look beautiful. They were just literally installed. So typically we do the upgrades before we list them, but this one sits gorgeous the way it is, and I think this will be attractive to a lot of buyers since it does have a slightly larger tire, and not everyone wants a lifted Jeep. And then from there, we do a little bit more with our LJs. Here's one that's actually coming up for sale. Excuse the shop, it's filthy, but this is further along in our stages. This is more of a stage 5 build, full suspension, all JKS, all 8 control arms, Fox reservoir shocks, adjustable coilovers, lockers, gears, ton of work. So sky's the limit in what we do. But this is a super clean, classy Jeep just the way it is. And once again, a lot of people really appreciate a clean, simple Jeep, as do I, and as do we as a company. So all of that information will be much more clearly laid out on our website at davisautosports.com. So as you'll see from a cosmetic standpoint, this Jeep is absolutely gorgeous. We have already performed our full paint correction service. We actually had this Jeep on our website last week in the original condition as it came in off the transport truck, and it showed just almost as nice as this. The guys did an amazing job on the paint correction. I'll show you all the details of that later. But before we get into that, I do want to point out the hood bumper is going to be installed, and we have a new Jeep sticker that got hit with a buffer during the paint correction service. So those 2 items are going to be taken care of. So we are shooting this in 4K. I'm going to show you every single nook and cranny of this Jeep. 93,000 miles. One of the reasons the entire front end of this Jeep, which is all original paint, looks this amazing is the previous owner had one of those front brawls on it. So what we did is we took it off. It was aged, and then we wet sanded and buffed everything. So the entire front clip of this has been fully protected over the years, which did it wonders. So the bumper was on there. It's a nice bumper. It is what it is. We ended up leaving that on there. That's an option if you want us to remove it. If you want us to put lights on it, we'll be more than happy to do that. Now, our paint correction service, if you're not familiar with what that is, once the entire exterior is washed and clay barred and got all the major contaminants on the surface removed, it's then a multi-step of wet sanding the entire body with different grits of sandpaper. Usually on a white Jeep, we don't have to get too aggressive. We usually will start off with a 2000 grit, Some areas may get a 1500 grit, and then it works up to a 3000. And it's very tedious because we have to remove the flares so they don't get sand marks or buffer wheel marks or anything like that. We remove lights. That's actually why that's removed. That just hasn't been put on. The bumpers get removed as well. The mirrors get removed. The door handles get removed. So it's very, very tedious. I wish we had one in here right now getting done, but we have tons of videos where you can see the guys in the backdrop doing it. So all that gets removed. It gets sanded. And once we sand the clear coat, it's then dull, but it's very flat and all the scratches and swirls are out. But then we have to restore that clear with different high-speed compounds and buffs and different wheel applicators and everything else. So it's very, very tedious, and the end result is what you see here, pretty much like new paint. The reason being is this clear coat that we're looking at now, this is the first time it's been on the top layer. So imagine wood that's aged, sanding the entire top layer off, and then you have a new top surface coat, if you will. So that's one of the reasons it looks so nice, but it was also very well taken care of. All the trim pieces have been painted. The mirrors have been painted as well. So this is not Armor All or shine or anything. You can actually see we do a satin finish. We take these off. Same thing with the handles. We usually replace them. And the top, as you see, is in gorgeous condition as well. OEM side steps, so we left those on. As I touched on earlier, brand spanking new BFGs, and I'm 90% sure they're 31s. Yeah, 31s, yep. Wheels are in great condition, and the undercarriage of this thing. I also want to note, we haven't done the service part of the Jeep, and I'll tell you what we are going to do because we've already inspected it. So while this is in our service department, all the wheel wells get cleaned and detailed, and you guys have seen all of our undercarriages when they're done, how great they look. So, but from a lack of rust standpoint, does not get any better. This Jeep is straight as can be. I honestly don't think there's one single dent or ding on the entire Jeep. There may be, but I really honestly don't see a single one, and usually we get those removed if we do see them. So, but completely flat all the way. The nice thing about having us paint corrected as well is it's when most people buy a vehicle of this age, they may wax it, and wax for a lot of vehicles does a disservice. Depending on the surface of the vehicle, what kind of wax, but since this is completely gone through and done, when you start to wax this here on out, that's all you have to do. You can also ceramic coat it. You can get us to do it. We offer that as well. But when you wax a car that has contaminants on it and everything else, you're actually doing a disservice by waxing it on because you're just creating swirl marks. So tubular bumper on the rear. The spare is also a brand spanking new matching BFG, which is nice. So we don't have an old tire covering being covered up. License plate bracket was removed and painted as well. All those pictures could be found on our website when we had all this stuff dismantled off of the Jeep. So even the Jeeps that we leave in stock form, we do the full cosmetic reconditioning. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful paint. Once again, no Armor All, no conditioner. Once again, all three pieces were removed and painted. That panel was painted as well. And the reason we do that, obviously these fade over time. as do the flares. So they have a tendency to look gray. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm referring to. And a lot of dealers will just spray some sort of shine on them so they look dark. And then when it rains and all that, it comes off. And those have silicone, which actually makes the black color even worse once it dries out. Give you a good glance of the profile. And just really, really remarkable how straight this Jeep is. Wheel well, once again, all that road debris and stuff will come off, but just look how clean it is naturally. Very, very clean. Handle was done. Rear flare. As you see, the top's in great condition as well. We'll happily remove this cover if you don't like it. So part of our service that we are going to do on this Jeep, which is standard on all of the Jeeps that we sell here, is we're going to do a new rear main seal, which is a major service on this 4.0 engine. If you're familiar with the 4.0s, they all have a tendency to leak. We're going to do a new valve cover up top and a new oil pan gasket. Obviously new oil filter, and oil housing filter as well. We also will service the differentials, transfer case, driveline, all that good stuff. And then obviously we'll inspect the brakes and go from there. But we over service our vehicles. We do stuff that it's not even needed. We do things that are even questionable, we do. And then we don't go too far with it, because often when we sell a Jeep like this, a client may say, hey, I want you to do, you know, that build or something similar. So we don't want to do too much to certain items that may get redone in part of the build process. So we keep the service to what I just mentioned. And then if you want to buy it like this and you go, hey, I want this thing service top to bottom, inside out, you know, preventative maintenance type stuff, we'll be more than happy to do that as well. But oftentimes, you know, if we do brakes and then we do a build like that, we'll put an upgraded brake system on it. So we can cover all that. If you're interested, give me a call and we'll go over that. But this is a, we haven't even cleaned the engine bay. You may see a little bit of what that is that's compound. When you compound this after wet sanding it, it gets pretty dusty. So everything you're seeing on here is just a compound. And as it goes to our service department, gets serviced, it will then get the engine bay all detailed. But that's all that is. Usually these areas are nasty with rust. Water sits in certain pockets and just get really, really funky. That right there is compound as well. That's not like overspray white paint or anything like that. So just want to be clear on that. Radiator has been replaced as well. Now, one thing as we get to the undercarriage, and I'm going to show you guys that, you're going to see a lot of chalk markings, and that is done at the factory. Keep in mind, I'm showing you this undercarriage without us cleaning it or anything like that, but you'll see how super clean it is. Now, also what you're seeing is a lot of, that's just dirt, but look how clean that frame is. I mean, it is absolutely perfect. I mean, there's not a speck of rust on that frame. And then let me go wide view on this. Boom. Floor pan, incredible. Bottom of the frame, super clean. Belly pan, that's just all dirt. All this is going to become nice and black and clean when we clean it. That chalk marking is from the factory right there. But this control arm bracket, usually the welds, even on rust-free Jeeps, the welds rust, which not even rust on these welds. And usually the hardware, even on a rust-free Jeep, gets funky. but it's been a Florida Jeep since day one, as well as Georgia, but mostly 95% of its life has been in Florida. So the exhaust too, usually these things, that's the original exhaust, and that's just from it getting hot right there. But you never can, you won't see an exhaust like that. Very rare. Heat shield is perfect as well. Let me make my way underneath. See what I do for you guys. Let me look at the floor pan. That's just for my fingers from touching stuff. But it's literally perfect. That's a sticker from the factory. Back side of the control arms. I mean, you do not find Jeeps this clean. Extremely clean. Rockers are perfect, of course. I'll show you this side, even though it's absolutely the same. That's a little chalk marking from the factory. Right there as well. There's one right there. And then that one right there. Those are all from the factory. I mean, look at that bolt. My hand's actually getting it dirty. That's how clean it is. But beautiful. And all this is dirt. That's just going to come off and look that much better. But that's been a film of protection on it. This thing's the real deal, guys. Gorgeous, gorgeous Jeep. Let me get a rag from my hand before I start touching the interior of the Jeep. We do one takes here on our video. Inside's very clean as well. 93,000. Let me darken this a little bit to make it, there you go. Automatic 4-wheel drive, AC's ice cold. None of the typical issues up top of the dash. Look how clean this carpet is, even underneath the floor mats. Extremely clean. Both keys does have the gray security keys as well, which is nice. That's just from my feet right there. So that's it, guys. Absolutely gorgeous. So what I'm going to do, both on our website and if you're going to view this on eBay, we're going to have a ton of pictures of this Jeep. And then below this, we're going to have a white LJ that we just sold about 2 or 3 months ago that we did our stage 2 package on, which is going to be one of the options. So you'll actually see literally the same Jeep, white LJ, black hardtop, with our stage 2 package, so you can sort of compare. It's amazing just what a little 2.5-inch lift in 33s do. Another thing that we typically do is we change out the wheel to a brand new wheel, and the wheel that we use is 1 inch wider, 1 inch bigger, has a better offset, so it just gives the Jeep a much better stance overall. So if you have any questions, feel free to email us is the best way. JD@davisautosports.com or Jeeps@davisautosports.com. Thank you.